What started with a small group of people is having a big impact on protecting the Boundary Waters Canoe Area wilderness.
Earlier this year, the Biden administration imposed a 20-year federal ban on copper nickel mining in the Superior National Forest. That is the headwaters to the WCCO. The decision means that 225,000 acres are off limits and ensures a Chilean company cannot move forward with its proposed Twin Metals mine. It's the most significant conservation measure to protect the area in more than 4 decades. Behind the push for protection, a small group of people whose efforts grew into a national movement to save the Boundary Waters. WCCO's Jennifer Merrily and photojournalist Mike Durenberger traveled to Ely to meet them and find out how their persistence paid off.
The Boundary Waters Canoe Area wilderness lies in the northern part of the Superior National Forest. With 1,200 miles of canoe routes, you won't hear the sounds of cars there. Instead, it's the call of the wild, home to bald eagles, loons. The headwaters of the BWCA is near Ely, where a decade ago this group, now called Save the Boundary Waters, started talking about the threat of copper-nickel mining there.
This was really a battle to protect one of the most important pieces of public lands in the country.
What is it that we could do to change the direction our region was heading?
Becky Rahm grew up in Ely, living above her dad's canoe trip outfitting business. She and Reed Karen moved back in retirement and, with collective concern, joined with Paul and Sue Shirkey.
Learned early on as well that the responsibility for enjoying a place this beautiful was to stand up for it and ensure that it was protected forever for everyone.
Paul is an Arctic adventurer and owns a dog sled lodge. Sue started an outdoor apparel line. Steve and Nancy Paregas arrived in the 70s to do research on mining for the EPA. They stayed and are the owners of an outdoor outfitting company.
This was our issue. It was our time to step up.
They strongly oppose federal mine leases near the BWCA. Copper-nickel mining hasn't been done in the state, so they started learning about how it worked and the potential for pollution.
Well, it'd be a wholesale damage to the entire watershed, to the entire wilderness area.
All the way to Churchill.
A path of pollution that would go from here northwards 1,200 miles to the Arctic Ocean.
They took their fight to the nation's capital.
We went to Washington. We had someone to talk about.
Us first explaining this place, what the canoe country was about, why it was so special, why it was so valuable, and why it was so vulnerable.
Other like-minded people in town soon joined the movement.
The amount of research that this campaign has done in the last decade to really explain the threat.
Invested in the future of the BWCA.
We want more and more people to have these experiences.
Adventurers Amy and Dave Freeman paddled 2,000 miles from Ely to Washington, D.C.
And I think we realized that we had this unique skill set where we could paddle and portage and dog sled and use sort of our wilderness skills to combine that with a way of, sharing the science and the importance of protecting the place.
The 100-day trek garnered attention.
More people were coming up to us and telling us their stories and joining in with the cause. It was very encouraging.
The momentum continued with mailers, and as support swelled, so did donations and volunteers. They made those monthly trips to meet with lawmakers.
Now it's hundreds of thousands of people across the country, across the world, who've been awakened both to the beauty of the place and the threat that we're up against.
But the push for protection hasn't been a straight line. There have been lawsuits and strong opposition to their movement, and a community with a history of mining divided.
We have a lot of people that don't like us, in Ely. So, there's people that they think the mining company is a panacea.
The polarity is still very, very strong in this town.
I feel like they just feel it can be done safely. And we feel it can't be done safely.
For now, this group carries the momentum.
We are up against professional lobbyists as regular people, as citizens who are advocating for good public policy.
The group achieved the 20-year ban on mining earlier this year, the most significant accomplishment to date. Still, they're working toward permanent protection.
We need legislation so that it can't be undone by
and administration.
We still have a long ways to go. I think that's what we think about more than what we've done, what we've accomplished.
In Ely, Jennifer Mearley, WCCO News.
Democratic Congresswoman Betty McCollum has introduced a bill to permanently protect the area, saying, quote, some places are simply too precious to mine. Republican Congressman Pete Stauber is trying to reverse what he calls a misguided and harmful ban, saying that the mineral withdrawal has nothing to do with protecting the BWCA. Twin Metals Minnesota said that the company is deeply disappointed and stunned by the 20-year moratorium.